Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one, I'm going to be taking a look at some upcoming Mega Venusaur decks from the set Mega Evolution. So, as for some new card translations, we of course got Mega Venusaur. 308 HP is the biggest Mega so far. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see 400 HP either in the Mega Evolution box or, like next year with the next mechanic, but until we see the World Championships and what mechanic gets revealed at Worlds, then we truly have no idea what they're going to do. But yeah, I would not be surprised at this point if they go all the way to 400 HP. But yeah, it has a very powerful ability, Solar Trans, which says as many times as you like during your turn, you may move a basic grass energy from one of your Pokemon to another one of your Pokemon, which has fantastic synergy with the likes of Ogrepon, because it just means that you can attach energy to Ogrepon, draw a bunch of cards, and then once you evolved all the way up to Mega Venusaur, you can then just move all the energy from your Ogrepons to Mega Venusaur, which is fantastic. Then it has the attack Jungle Dump, which for 4 grass energy, which is a bit expensive, but of course, as long as we get 4 energy on the board, it's fine. It does 240 damage, and you get to heal 30 from his Pokemon. So, as if having 308 HP wasn't enough, they gave this thing a healing move. So, at least the main downside, though, is that 240 is not really one-shotting anything. Like, aside from things with weakness, of course, and I guess basic EX Pokemon, for the most part, you are not like taking things out. Like the only megas you can realistically hit are like Mega Marwell, and that's with a Defiance Band or something. So yeah, Jungle Dump. Not a ton of damage, but very tanky and hard to KO. Also, some new cards to take a look at here. We've got Lily's Determination, a standard Shuffle Draw 6, which is really nice. But then also to your first, not your first turn, sorry, that's confusing it with the older Lily. That's because there was a Lily in Sun and Moon that had a similar effect, and only did like the special effect on your first turn of the game. But yeah, Lily's special effect in this version is then you draw 6 cards, but if you have 6 prize cards remaining, you shuffle draw 8 instead. And why this is pretty good is because I think Venusaur is slightly on the slower end in terms of setup, but you still want to go like as fast as possible, but you're not going to be like taking prize cards fast. You're still just going to be setting up in those first 2 turns or so. So you're always going to get like the shuffle draw 8 value because you want to like not really discard any resources, and you do want to track down your Vitality Forest Stadium. So I think that's why like these decks really lean into heavy counts of Lily. So yeah, quite a good supporter card from the next set. Well, quite good as might be a bit of an understatement, but yeah, very good supporter overall. Also got this new Maganeium, which basically just doubles your grass energy attachments. So not played in every list here, I would say. But 2 grass energy becomes 4, 1 becomes 2, 3 would become 6 if you really wanted it to. But, for the most part, Meganium is a really nice tech card. But, 106 HP does make it slightly vulnerable to being picked off, like boss KO'd, and then that could, like, really disrupt your strategy. So I would just be careful of that. That's my only concern with Meganium, is that your opponent could easily boss KO it, and then all of a sudden you have 2 grass energy on Mega Venusaur, and that's a bit of a problem. But overall, I still think Meganium's a really solid option. Also got this new Stadium Vitality Forest, which is a very strong Stadium card. Each player's grass Pokemon may evolve into a grass Pokemon on the turn they were played, except on that player's first turn. So what this basically means is that you can have a board state of just Ogrepons, and then you could bench Bulbasaur, and then immediately evolve it into Ivysaur, and then Mega Venusaur, and then immediately move all those grass energy to Mega Venusaur. So that's really cool that you can do that, potentially on turn 2 as well, which is crazy. So yeah, really like Vitality Forest. But as for the first list here, it is a straightforward Ogrepon build. Got no Meganium rocking in this one, just some support Pokemon like Squawkabilly and Fez. Squawkabilly is definitely an interesting way of going about this because in my mind, you really want to like lean into the tanky side of things. So I think putting some liabilities on the board like Fez and Squawkabilly in addition to Ogrepon might seem a bit risky in my opinion, but I guess overall this deck just really wants to get set up and doesn't really care if your opponent like just has boss's orders and takes their 6 prize cards that way. But I do think this deck might be vulnerable to your opponent just saying, right, boss 2 prizes, boss another 2 prizes, and then boss, oh, I win the game now, that kind of thing. So I do worry about that slightly, but overall it seems like a very consistent aggressive list, playing 4 research, 4 Lily, 4 of the stadium, like 4 bug capture, which is another phenomenal card in this deck, by the way. Bug capture is amazing. But yeah, very interesting list overall. Also worth mentioning that this list is playing the Bulbasaur that doesn't have the retreat lock attack, which is interesting. I don't know if that was intentional. Maybe this player just only had that Bulbasaur and didn't want to splash out for more, which is fine. But yeah, interesting that they went with a different Bulbasaur. But I thought that was worth mentioning overall. But yeah, very cool list. Also got a Hero's Cape as an A-Spec of choice. So you can go all the way to 480 HP, which is, of course, disgusting. But I do think your opponent will probably just try and like boss and, take all the 6 prize cards that way. But yeah, still a very strong list, though, I would say. Next up is we've got a list playing Ogrepon as well, but also running Meganium. So quite a thin line, a 2-1-1 line. So if you're going to rely on Meganium in this deck, then you definitely got to be prepared for like you're prizing one Meganium, or like if you discard it earlier on, then that could be a problem because like you have one Night Stretcher, one Super Rod, like that is a bit rough, I would say. But I guess you still have things like Jock to find it. You have like Iono, so you've got like quite a lot of shuffle draw as well. Also playing like the new Wally's Compassion, which I like Wally's Compassion actually. I think it's interesting. I think yeah, I think Wally's Compassion does work out quite nicely, but only if you're willing to set up some Ogrepons and Meganium because of the whole thing where you have to like reset the energy to the hand if you play Wally. Also, if you don't know what Wally does, by the way, it just heals all damage from one of your Megas. But you have to return all energy from that Pokemon to your hand. So you can reattach them with Ogrepon's ability, and then like Meganium makes it so that you would only need like 2 Ogrepon out in play to do that, which is cool. So maybe there's room for like more Wally or something, but decks are like so hyper consistent these days because the format is so fast. Every deck has to be really fast, if that makes sense. So like there's less room for like tech cards like Wally, but interesting enough list. Like I think you can maybe remove Jock or something, add a second Wally, perhaps like really stuff over your opponent trying to KO your Mega Venusaur, but yeah, very respectable list overall. 8 grass energy, maybe slightly on the low side, but you do have Bowcatcher as well to find it. Next up, though, is we've got a Toedscool list as like an alternate attacker / protection from things like Dragapult. Very cool as a 2-1 line. Also got the Toedscool in here, which I think is the one that prevents Night Stretcher, if I'm remembering that correctly. Or the one that like prevents you from putting Pokemon or energy or something from your discard pile into your hand or your deck. I should know this, by the way. I definitely should know this fact, but I'm actually not sure what that single prize Toedscool does exactly. But it is an interesting tech card nonetheless. Also playing Briar is a tech supporter. That's interesting. Like I would have thought Wally might be a bit stronger here, but interesting enough to see. Also playing 2 Iono 1 Research. Not sure. I'm a fan of like 1 Research in a deck. I'd always like to play at least 2, but interesting still. Also playing Superior Energy Retrieval actually. So like maybe there's a world where this deck really wants to go in all in on like Area Zero and just put like a ton of Ogapons in play, then move all the energy around the board, and then like when it kills something with a Toedscool, maybe that's a potential win condition for this deck. So like you can try and stuff over the prize race that way potentially. Still more of a Venusaur deck, of course, like a 4-3-3 line, but definitely something to consider with this build. Also playing a different A-Spec, Secret Box, which is really cool. So yeah, a lot of variety, definitely like a bit more of a hybrid build between Toedscool and Venusaur, but if you're already a huge fan of Toedscool and you want to try out Venusaur, then this would be a good place to start. Then next up is we have, I apologize, I'm aware this is blurry, but I wanted to find more Venusaur lists online, and this was the only way to do it. But we do have a Venusaur Hydrapple, kind of like Festival lead, I guess, but not really because it's not playing the Thwackey or the Festival Ground Stadium, although I'm sure you could like work them into this list. It's just that it doesn't have a ton of synergy when you want to run the Lush Forest. So yeah, a 2-2 line of Diplin and then 2 Hydrapple EX, so you could in theory, do the wave, so to speak. But yeah, Hydrapple EX definitely there for some energy charging, which is nice, and also a bit of healing. So what you could do, and this player has done it, is you could just use Wally, but you could then also just like move all the energy from Venusaur to another Pokemon, then play a Hydrapple, heal some damage, and then move the energy back to Venusaur, and then you're not wasting energy that way. So very fun combos overall. Again, a very different A-Spec playing Precious Trolley, because like I think Bulbasaur having 80 HP or 70 HP can be a bit annoying. So the fact that you can actually, lead into Precious Carrier and just get a bunch of these guys out, then that's really cool. Like still playing 4 Bugcatcher, still playing 2 Nest Ball, but yeah, Precious Trolley is a really nice idea, I think. For Petrol, which is a unique choice actually. I guess Petrol finds any trainer card, so it will find the stadium, because like Arven's not really super useful here because there's no tools anyway. So like maybe just if you're not running tools, then why bother with Arven? Just play Petrol. So really cool option there, nice to see. I think if you're a fan of Hydrapple X, this one will seem right at home to you, but Yeah, it's interesting overall, though. I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of this one, but it is interesting at the very least. Next up, though, is we have one more blurry list to take a look at, and that is like more of an aggressive Venusaur Ogrepon build. No tech cards, no like additional liabilities, as you would say, maybe, but yeah, no Pheasantipity, no Squawkabilly, just Ogrepons and Venusaur. So very straightforward. Also has room for things like Turo Scenario, which is really cool. So what you can do is basically try and get a board state actually where you don't have any Ogrepon on the bench because you can just Turo Scenario them all up to your hand. And then after that, you can just rely on Wally and then rebench the Ogrepons if necessary. So yeah, very cool options. You could even Turo Scenario the Venusaur, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think Turo lets you pick up evolution Pokemon as well. But yeah, very powerful overall. Definitely looking to do heal loops with this deck. Like, yeah, it reminds me a bit of Celosaur actually, although you're not inflicting special conditions, which is unusual for Venusaur. I will say that it's unusual that Venusaur doesn't do like poison or something, but maybe they were worried it could be too good with Perilous Jungle and Brute Bonnet and stuff. But yeah, very interesting list, very high counts of cards. Yeah, I definitely like this list a lot. It's very straightforward, very to the point. Yeah, we'll definitely be looking to try this one out, I think. But yeah, thank you for watching. We've got a lot of variety in deck list here to take a look at. So hopefully something has sparked your interest and you're interested in Venusaur in general if you weren't already on board. But yeah, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about Venusaur down below. And yeah, thank you for watching.